So here you're seeing me do a more cleaner sectioning of the ears. It's just going to require a little bit more meticulous painting. It's okay. As long as it produces a perfect, a usable proxy mesh. Okay, so that's a good tier of refinement. As I click through, you'll see I have some significantly better outlining of the geometry with the weighting. So it's going to give me some better cut up geometry for my proxy, especially at the fingers. There's a lot of work that's done on the fingers. I even have the cup joint, has its piece of geometry, the wrist, the thumb base, and I even split up the thighs to be a lot better defined. Let me erase that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror with whilst I'm on root and still in the skinning tool, so I can just see the mirroring happening in real time. One-to-one, I didn't mention, but I think it's making sure that if it's looking for an identical hierarchy on the other side to transfer the skinning so that it's exactly the same. There are some other options, but I do remember this is what I'm used to using when I mirror to get the best results. So I'm going to go apply, and it looks like everything transferred over. That's probably something that should have been dealt with. Just erase that. It gets confused. Make sure root has that, and the other roots are working correctly. Let me apply. Okay, that should be good enough. I do want to mention that this doesn't have to be perfect, because whatever geometry we get in the end can be edited, and I'll explain why shortly. Okay, so it's now time to take a shot at another cut up. So I'm going to minimize my weight painting tool and my mirror tool and get out of the tool. And then I'm going to select my geometry, and this time make sure that offset parent matrix is on. And I'm going to run the cut up tool one more time and see what results we get. So I'll go cut up. Okay, so it's done with the process. It's put it on a layer. Let's inspect it. I'm going to hide subdivision level 1. Okay, so I have to admit, after a little inspection, I don't think it's bad, but I don't like a lot of it. It feels a little sloppy. It's doing a good job in some areas. It looks really cool in some areas. I feel bad about going with the route I'm about to take, but perhaps I'll just keep this as a choice until I decide I no longer want it. But yeah, I don't like these all these gaps. I feel like in some areas it's okay, but like on the arms, it doesn't matter. It's nice to have those gaps. Actually, the old Proxy had that, but on the ears, for instance, I don't think this helps me to visualize the main skinning well when I'm in proxy mode. I will keep this, but I'm going to show another thing I could do to get a cleaner result. It's important to know though that what the cutup tool gives us is really important. This relationship with constraints that it has done with the offset parent matrix nodes. So if I was to go into the node editor yet again, and I map out this mesh, for instance, I'll see my cutup node with the mult matrix going in and its group, the group that's housing it, pumping in its world inverse matrix, and then the joint that's controlling it going in there, and it's being summed, not a mult matrix added together to pipe into the offset parent matrix. But what I am actually going to do is extract my own geometries just so I can get a cleaner result. And then I'm just going to bring those geometries in here. And with these already set up node networks, I'll just pipe my matrix sum into my new geometry. It's great that the cutup tool can create all these relationships for us. And then I just have to go in there and integrate geometry I create into the matrix relationships it has created. All right, so I'm going to get on with this manual cutting. So I'm going to hide this, bring my subdivision 1 body back out. And what I could do is really duplicate it, delete its history, and make sure I unlock it because it was skinned. And I can remove it from this layer and just have it isolated. And because of how clean my edge loops are with this model, it's just so simple to just grab these. So if I was to just go to my face tool, I could get so much better edge loops. At least I think so. Let me see here. Yeah, this is a good starting point. So I can grab all these edge loops. First, actually, let me deactivate everything other than geometry. And do this again. So I have to grab this. Yeah, I can grab all of this. Grab the faces. All right, so it looks like I have a pretty good selection for this upper thigh joint. And I can just go to my modeling tool, modeling menu, go to edit mesh and extract. So with that piece of geometry now separated, let me give you an example of what I intend to do. So I can grab this and definitely want to delete history on it. Keep it at world where it is. With these geometries now extracted, let me move ahead and make a connection. So I've done this side, I'm going to do the other side. So let me turn on wireframe on shading just so we can see a lot better. And this is my cut up, so I'm going to hide it. And this is my extracted piece. Now I'm going to open the node editor. So I'm going to turn on my cut up geometry just so I can select it and map it in the node editor. So there it is. And let me open these nodes. So what I'm going to do with my cutup geometry is wire it into this system. So I'm going to hide advanced skeletons cutup, and I'm going to select my geometry and I'm going to add it to the node editor's view and bring it over here. All right, and now I'm going to show you what would happen if the logical thing to do would be to just pipe this matrix sum into the offset parent matrix of mine, because that's what it's doing with the cutup geometry it created, right, that I just hid, right? But look what happens when I do that. So if I come over here and I pipe in my matrix sum, actually, let me make sure it's in view so that you can see what's happening over there. Right? So if I take this matrix sum and I wire it in here into other, and I find offset parent matrix, the geometry has jumped. You see what it's doing right there? Now this is a very popular thing that happens when you try to just pipe your matrix sum or whatever mult matrix into this offset parent matrix field. I don't know why it happens, but I know how to get around it. But if you notice, it's just funneling a whole bunch of information from that joint, from our joint, into the offset parent matrix field. It's putting a whole bunch of values in here. And immediately this happens, I assume that, well, I am using a group over here. It needs this group to work. And for this group to work, this mesh needs to be inside this group. So if I undo to take things back, I would grab this new mesh I've created and I parent it underneath this cutup geometry. I really would expect this connection to work because now it's in the same position, or it has the same conditions that the geometry is going to replace has, right? So that would be hip right over there, which is what we have selected here, our cutup geometry. So I would expect now that if I did pipe this into the offset parent matrix field, it wouldn't jump, but it still jumps, right? I don't understand how they're all under the same conditions and it's behaving like this. I tried a lot of things. I also tried matching transforms of this geometry to the joint so that I would end up with this geometry's pivot over there. I tried first matching the pivot with modify match transforms pivot. I've tried matching transforms, all transforms, but it still doesn't work. You'll still get that weird offset. But the way I know how to get around this problem, I'm going to shift P to get out of here. And I think what I'm about to do is what you're supposed to do. The solution is to come out here. I have nothing selected and I'm going to create a null group. So if I do Control G, it creates a group at world. And from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to match the transforms of this group to this joint here, the joint that needs to be controlling the geometry. So I'm going to go modify, match transforms, match all transforms. So that moves this null group to the joint. So with this null group now here, I can now dump my geometry underneath the null group, right? And then I can add this null group to the viewport right there. And then I pipe into its offset parent matrix field. So if I go to this null group and I wire into the offset parent matrix, actually, no, that's before I dump this geometry in there, I have to create this connection. So the geometry stays out here and I wire the matrix sum, which now the offset parent matrix field should be accessible. So if I wire this sum into the offset parent matrix, we have a connection now to that group and it's fine. And now I can drag this geometry underneath the group, parent it underneath there. And now we don't have any jumping. And just to be safe, I can take this null group and parent it underneath this cutup geometry. And weirdly enough, let me hide my original cutout. If I select my control and I move it, I now have my connection of my cutout geometry to the rake. So that's what I'm going to go through and do. I also am going to rename this so that it makes sense, and I'm going to try to distinguish it from the cutout that Advanced Skeleton created. So I'm going to copy their naming and I'm going to say cutup manual, and then I'm going to grab this and use it to rename the group that it's housing as GRP. All right, so this is what I did to the other side too. to get it to behave or connect correctly.